I'm Patrick Watson, I'm an astrologer, and you're watching Big Fat Astro Vlog, and today I'm going to be delivering a monthly horoscope for all Scorpio risings for the month of August 2018. Now, I'm not talking about Scorpio suns, I'm talking about Scorpio risings. So, this horoscope applies to you if the tropical sign of Scorpio was rising on the eastern horizon at the time and place of your birth. So, if you don't know what rising sign you are, you need your birth date, birth time, very important, and birthplace. Go to www.astro.com, put in your chart details, and you should be able to find out what rising sign you are. So, the way that I can tell what may generally happen for a lot of Scorpio risings is because of whole sign houses. The sign's relationship to the ascending sign of Scorpio, in this case, tells us what topics of life each sign will kind of come to represent. So as you can see here, I have the house topics, the areas of life each sign will pertain to because of your specific birth time. And then on the inner wheel here, I have the where the planets will be for the month of August. And you can see the key here for which planets the glyphs correspond to, as well as a kind of a one-word summary of what they do in the Zodiac. And then, of course, the outer wheel here is the Zodiac. And I know people kind of struggle with the glyphs for the planets and the Zodiac. So just figured this would help. So first thing that happens in August is there's a solar eclipse at 18 Leo on August 11th. You can see here the sun and the moon are together. Normally this would just be a new moon since they're together, but since they are within proximity to the North Node, it's actually an eclipse because the North Node is where they intersect. So, a solar eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career and reputation and like bosses and authority figures, your calling and your public life. So having an eclipse happen in this part of your chart shows that you'll be beginning a new 12-month period where the events of your life kind of focus around these 10th house topics of career and your calling and your public life. So, I mean, the kinds of things that can happen with that, I mean, that sounds like, a new job, big responsibilities, high visibility, a time when you kind of, I guess, like you're more in focus or more focused on what you are trying to achieve in your life, because the 10th house is the house of actions, things you do, in your public capacities and in your career and your calling. So that's a pretty cool eclipse to have in your 10th house. Now, what's interesting is this eclipse obviously will be different for every Leo rising depending on what planets they have in the sign of Leo or in the squaring and opposing signs, right? I mean, if you have Jupiter and Venus in Leo, then it's probably going to be a really, really good eclipse. If you have like Mars and Saturn in Leo, then, it might be difficult too. This particular eclipse, though, I can tell just in general, at least, that it's connected with the Mercury retrograde that's happening in that time because it's so close to the Mercury position. And it will also involve Jupiter because it's square, because Jupiter's at 14 degrees Scorpio and the eclipse is at 18 Scorpio, so you can see 18 Leo, so you can see how they are in a near 90 degree position there. So let's talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde. At the beginning of the month, Mercury will already be retrograde, and the Mercury retrograde ends on August 19th. So the stereotype about Mercury retrograde is that it's this time of communication mishaps and technology kind of going haywire, communication in general kind of getting gobbled and wobbled and not being what people intend. But what I also find is it's a time of review. Oftentimes there's an opportunity which comes up or a choice that you have to make that you're thinking about and vacillating on and making pro and con lists about, and all of this kind of activity, that sort of questioning activity, will be happening in your 10th house of your career. And this will be somewhat influenced by Jupiter on the 1st. The kind of stereotypical interpretation of Jupiter going through your 1st house is kind of a general luck and and abundance and optimism, and especially in relation to one's appearance and kind of outlook. So this is a time when like things, I guess, must be going a little better for you in some sense, because Jupiter is, in this very crucial part of your chart where you're making your emergence into the world. So luck seems to be on your side, and then you have this massive, 10th house eclipse with, Mercury really pondering and concentrating on, what this luck, means, how you might be able to capitalize on it in some way. So it's I would say almost certainly that it's like focused on a job or career, something like that, like what your life is going to be about. Let's take a look now at Venus. Venus, at the beginning of the month, Venus is in late Virgo in the 11th house of gifts and awards and organizations and networks and friends and acquaintances. Friends, specifically friends in high places or professional associates, things like that. So Venus in Virgo in that house is probably, there's been many opportunities probably throughout July and the beginning of the month for having positive but also transactional relations with your professional associates, your teams that you're a part of. With Venus entering Libra on August 7th, that is kind of interesting. So for the rest of August, Venus will be going through your 12th, which is the house of rivalries and seclusion and things and people that you're unaware of. So with Venus going through your 12th house, I would think that shows that there may be the potential for positive relations, social interactions with people who are often consigned to the fringes of society. So people perhaps with mental illness, or people who are sick or elderly or homeless, people who are otherwise kind of pushed out of the way. Also the people who are like enemies or your rivals. So what this could mean is this could be a period where you try to reconcile things with people that have a beef with you or that you have a beef with. But it could also be you reaching out or being touched by, the kindness of strangers. So that's what Venus through the 12th means. And that will be, throughout the month of August. So let's take a look now at Mars, because Mars is doing some interesting things in August. At the beginning of August, Mars is retrograde in Aquarius, where it's been for the past few months, and it's been retrograde in your 4th house. You can see here the 4th house is about home and parents and privacy and private life. So I would guess that domestically, this can be a somewhat disturbing factor or a series of events. This could be antagonism with one's parents. This could also be renovations in the home, like the home kind of getting torn up and having to, live out of a cardboard box for a while. Like it's sort of, because Mars kind of tears things up and destroys things. So sometimes that happens when you need to build up again. So Mars has been doing that for quite a while now, for the past couple of months. But the interesting thing is that in August, Mars retrogrades back into back into Capricorn. You can see it went back into Capricorn, which means that there's kind of a tonal shift as it goes into your 3rd house briefly. And that's regarding siblings, friends, and the idea of mobility and locality and school. So, this can be, if you're in school, this could be, aggression or antagonism from classmates. This could also be road rage, with Mars in the 3rd. If you are close to your siblings, this could be a time when, you encounter problems with them, or with close friends, because it's like friends of the family or people who are like family. So that's what Mars would suggest in that house. Mars goes direct and the retrograde period ends on August 28th. So that will be when Mars starts to kind of you know, it doesn't go any further in its path of destruction. You know, now it's kind of time to move on past the scars and burns that Mars has left in the 4th house for you. So the only other thing I have to talk about is a couple of days before the Mars direct station, there is a full moon at 3 degrees of Pisces. So this will be lighting up the area of your 5th house, which is the house of fun, pleasure, entertainment, children, creativity, things like that. It should be producing like a kind of 2-week focus on that. Although you do have that like nearly, well, yeah, you have that every year. It's either going to be in late August or sometime in September. Anytime the sun is in Virgo and the moon is in Pisces, provided the sun isn't too close to a sign boundary, you're going to have a full moon in Pisces. So you could go back in the ephemeris and check out like how some of these 5th house topics have manifested for you in those little 2-week periods of the year. So that's all I have to say about August 2018. I hope you've liked this horoscope. I hope that if you did like it, that you could give it a comment, give it a like, give it a nice comment. You could give it a share. I am on Patreon. I do have a few supporters on Patreon, so I welcome your buck, your one measly dollar. I'll take it. I appreciate it very much. That helps me keep the videos coming, keep the content coming, and I also, if you're interested to see what I would have to say about your chart specifically, I also offer my services on my website, www.bigfatastro.com. I just go on the services tab, and if you want to do it on a budget, you can also purchase my Big Fat Astro Natal Horoscope Report for $20. You just put in your birth details, and you get a huge report, which I wrote, basically a customized report of your all the planets and all the signs and houses and aspects. So, again, I hope you have a great August 2018, and I'd love to know what happens. If you can let me know what happens in your August, that would be great to hear. So I'll see you next time.